Hello and welcome to A Sense of Centerville and Washington Township, your place for stories about ordinary and extraordinary residents in the Centerville and Washington Township area. I'm Susan from Centerville-Washington History, and I look forward to hearing your story. Today, my guest is Janet Watkins Black. Janet Watkins Black is a sixth-generation Washington Township resident. She grew up on a 180-acre farm near Sheehan and Nutt Road. She lived in a farmhouse with her parents and grandparents. Before going to school, Janet would help with farm chores. She graduated from Centerville High School in 1953. Janet played clarinet in a 4-H band, which is where she met her husband, Jim Black, who was a Brookville student and trumpet player. She studied at Otterbein College before getting married. Janet taught third grade for the Centerville School District in a converted classroom in the basement of Centerville United Methodist Church. She raised two sons who also graduated from Centerville High School. She was an activity coordinator for St. Leonard's Senior Living Community. When she retired, Janet devoted her time to volunteering in Centerville. Janet was very active in the Centerville Women's Civic Club and held positions of president and vice president. A longtime member of Centerville-Washington History and Normandy United Methodist Church, Janet has been immersed in the history of the area. And welcome, Janet. So great to see you and to finally get a chance to visit.
Yeah, yes.
So we'll go ahead and get started with our questions, but it's just so exciting to meet somebody who has such deep roots in this community.
Well, I guess I do.
That's your claim to fame. So what was it like growing up in a farm in Centerville?
Well, you just say it's just what it was, and we did a lot of things and, could do everything. My dad and my grandpa, they were always saying to me, now you can do this, you can do that. So I think I hate to say this, at 10, I was driving the truck around the farm and grandpa would let me do that, So.
Well, I'm sure, a body, I was looking at the censuses for your family. And the farmers wrote down that they had 80-hour work weeks, probably even more during harvest time. So you, as a young person that was, fully able to work, I'm sure they put you to work.
Oh, yes, they did. And I also, when I was a junior, I said, well, I can do something else, than the farm. So I started working in the summer at the Stagecoach Inn.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Tell me more about the Stagecoach Inn, because I know that's the building that got knocked down right in the center of Centerville, the cross streets. That it got knocked down, and the residents just were very upset about that. So tell me about the Stagecoach Inn.
Well, it was the reason I did decide to do that was my friend, her folks owned it. And so we thought, that would be good if we could have each other there, So we would, do the things. We'd clean up and we'd, and then they lived upstairs. And then I could spend the night sometime, So I thought that was really pretty swift.
Yeah, you got to have fun. So it was like what we would call a bed and breakfast. People stayed the night.
It was just a breakfast, and it was 3 meals a day, but that was it. And at that time they were putting the big gas line through, and we had all kinds of people coming in, helping, and they loved to come up where we were, and we were really feeding them well.
So you had to work hard in order to, but it was fun work.
It was fun.
You liked being around your friends. So I think young people often will do that, find a job where they're with their friends.
When you only have 23 in your class, you just, you got to be with them.
What was the name of your friend that you worked with there?
Doris.
Okay, Doris.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was fun.
That's fun. Okay, so I was curious about what things you grew on the family farm, or did you have cows, or what?
Oh, we had cows, we had pigs. Really, we didn't go in for goats or anything like that. We just had the cows and the pigs, and that kept, 2 people busy.
Yes, because that was your father and grandfather were the primary farmers.
Right.
And then I'm sure they got people to help occasionally.
Not too often. Not till I started dating Jim. They say, well, maybe you'd like to do something, so he kind of got in
he
on
got
it.
roped into the farming.
Right.
I'm sure. You like our daughter. You better start working.
Yes.
That's funny.
That's the way it was.
Right. Did you have a field like with corn?
Corn? Oh, yeah. We only had corn and wheat.
Okay.
And oats. And
right.
then, you would have the one that had the hay, because we had to treat the animals like people, and so we would cut the beautiful green and get it all ready to be a bale. And so then we would bale the hay.
And that was fed to the animals? Is that right? That was what they ate. So
right.
you had to grow what had to feed them.
Right.
That's the interesting part. So we often talk to the children about the farms when we have tours and self-sufficiency that farmers had. Now, did your family grow almost all of their own food, or did you?
Oh, yes, we did. But then we had the folks I call, my mom and dad and grandpa and grandma. We were under one roof, and they would go, and there were friends, we weren't there by ourselves,
Right. There were other farmers in the area.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We had, the wheat and the oats and the corn, and then we would, do the hay. So we were busy.
Right. Did you have a vegetable garden as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just to provide.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
As a child, I would think it would be very fun to see little animals being born. Is that something you were a part of, or did you stay away from that?
My dad would not let me do that.
No,
and
not be involved.
No, not to be involved. Yeah. So I would sneak sometimes, but no, he didn't think that was anything I needed to find.
To be involved. But
yeah.
Little animals, I think, are very cute.
Oh, yeah. Well, they grow up, and I used to like the kittens, Now, the kittens, I could be okay if I saw them being born. But Dad would say, well, what are you going to do today? Are you going to take the kittens for a ride? And I'd say, oh, yeah, I think so. And I had a little baby carriage,
Okay.
And I don't know where I got it. And I would put the kittens, I'd dress them and put them in there.
Right.
And put a little blanket over them. And
so they were your playmates.
Yes, they were my playmates. And we'd go around the farm.
I can see why your dad wouldn't want you to do that with livestock, though.
You're right. So I couldn't do that.
No, that's that's their livelihood. So, what kind of chores were your responsibility before you left for school, and then did you have different chores that you did when you got back in the day?
Oh, I didn't do much before I went to school. Dad even drove the school bus, and so he would get me in the school bus, and we'd make the rounds, and so I didn't have time too much in the morning, but in the evening I would go and have to throw the corn to the chickens.
Okay.
And chickens are fine, but the roosters are awful.
Oh, no.
So they were just always seemed to be at my feet.
Trying to peck on you?
Yes, and I did not like that. And I'd get scared, sometimes and run in and say, get that rooster off of me, and got the eggs and so forth. So
right. So you were very useful as a child on the farm.
Yeah. Yes.
Now you mentioned your father drove the school bus, and that I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't know that he drove the school bus. So you really did. How did he get his chores done before? I mean,
well, they got up at 5:30,
Right.
or 5:30, and they did their milking before they had breakfast, and that was so. By the time they were eating breakfast, I was ready to go. I was up and had my breakfast, and then Dad would say, well, you might as well just get on the bus with me.
So was the bus on your property?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes, they
had a school bus right there.
Right there, yeah.
Wow.
So,
now, I assume he got paid for that, or your dad?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. And he loved doing it, and still there's kids that are, not kids anymore,
Right.
but our friends, they would say, I just loved your dad when he was the driver, so.
He must have been a lot of fun. Did he tell stories? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he did. He was, and that's why he was such a great
Township trustee.
trustee, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for 12 years. So he really was with the people.
Right.
Plus being on the farm.
Wow. So to do both.
Yeah.
I mean, just a hardworking person.
Yeah.
But really part of the community that really cared about the area.
Yeah, he
That's
loved
wonderful.
it.
Okay. So you did already mention, ways you could earn money. Did you drive as a young person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Grandpa told me how to drive. And, I used to go down Nutt Road and Atchison and then into the woods, and then he'd say, okay, turn around, you are doing good, so before I knew it, I was driving.
That's great. Yeah, I'm sure that since you grew up driving tractors, you probably were a natural at it because you're just always from a young age.
In fact, Dad said, I need another tractor. And I said, oh, well, you have one. And he says, no, I have another one. And I said, you do? He said, yes. He said, come into the barn. So I went, and he said, this is your tractor. And so I got the tractor and did a lot of things. I would pull the baler and so forth. So,
wow, yeah. At a time when a lot of men wouldn't have women doing that kind of thing, so there was no distinction between what you had to do.
Yeah, I loved that.
Good. It is exciting to be able to do things like that. And
one time I was driving, and you had the tractor, and then you had the baler, and then you had to put it on the wagon, and take it in. Well, I forgot to really look at everything was okay behind. No, it wasn't. I had lost the wagon.
Oh, no.
And the wagon was way back in
So
the.
you had to go around and get it again.
And get it all hitched up again.
Just a rookie
And
mistake.
it wasn't. I kept saying, "It's not my fault. It's not my fault." So.
Right. Well, was it your fault or?
No, it wasn't.
No.
No, it wasn't.
So what did you do for fun as a young person? So you mentioned about the kittens, and you also worked at the Stagecoach Inn. But beyond that, what were the fun things that young people or teenagers did?
Teenagers. Well, as a teenager, we had dancing, and at the school, and I remember that. And there was, we could date, we could go to the movies and so forth. So that was, we weren't too bad.
Right. Did you, now there was no TV, or was there TV?
We got TV early at the farm.
Right.
So we did have TV, and we used to have people coming to our house to watch the wrestling on Saturday night because no one else
had a
had
TV.
That, yeah.
Now, my dad said he loved radio shows when he was young.
Yeah.
So before the TV,
That's
there
right.
were radio shows. Were there any favorite radio shows when you were a child?
Well, they like them, they're farmers, okay? So they want to know, is it going to rain tomorrow? Is it, what's going to happen? Now, that would be first. They all would sit around the radio, and I'd think, oh, that's boring,
So it wasn't your cup of tea.
No, it wasn't. So
Okay.
I would,
You wanted something fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sure after working physically all day, you do need a break physically and just listen to a radio program or TV.
Yeah, well, my folks did. They had a lot of little shows that they liked, and it was, if only 10 minutes, that's fine, or a half an hour. That's it, that was it.
Yeah, and living with so many adults, I'm sure that they didn't really cater to the young person's choice.
No.
You were ganged up against a little bit.
They didn't. No. And I did like, people would come in and they would knock on the door and say, is it open tonight? And that was, for wrestling.
For the TV.
And they'd bring their own popcorn and, but now we would never think about something.
I know, you think about that. Like, yeah, certainly. I mean, occasionally we'll have people come in for a football game or something like that, but we invite them. They don't invite themselves.
Right.
That's so
yes,
funny.
yes.
Oh, that's great. So many people didn't go to college in the 50s, but you did. So why do you think that was important? And did your father help pay for college?
Well, I will say that I just knew I wanted to go to college. All that, I had that in my mind. And so lo and behold, I got a scholarship. And I was going to go to University of Cincinnati for teaching. And they would not take that scholarship. So suddenly, in about 3 weeks, I had to find another college. And so I knew some friends that had gone to Otterbein, and I thought, well, I would know somebody, and I think I'll go. So I was accepted there, and that's where I was.
Yeah, that must have. Were you the first person in your family to go to college?
Yeah, my dad.
Because they were farmers.
Yeah. They were farmers.
They worked so hard. There's no time for college.
No, they were not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, how very brave to go away by yourself, with friends,
yeah,
and do that.
Yeah, and it was nice. Dad, I'll tell you, the first year that I was there, a freshman, he said, I have to pay $600 to get you in here, And I thought, ooh, that is a lot of money, He says, that's okay, So
he was willing to do it.
Yeah.
To help you.
Yeah, I'm an only child, see.
Yeah. Well, he invested a lot of time and money into you. And so you wanted to do well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And you were a good student, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten a scholarship.
No. So, but I couldn't understand why UC would not accept that. I thought, what's going on here? But they were more engineering and things like that. That's where my husband was.
Okay.
See, I had thinking, that
you wanted to follow him.
Yeah.
That didn't work out, huh?
No. And I was in before he was, I would have been. I don't know. You just want to do it. And I did. I love teaching.
Uh-huh. Tell a little bit about your first ancestor that moved to the area. So I think that's William Watkins. Is that right? Do I have that correct?
It's who?
William Watkins?
Yes, but I don't know much about him.
You don't know much about him. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I read a little bit, and so that
He
was a Revolutionary War drummer.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's how they came from Kentucky.
Okay, so to Kentucky, to this area, and one of the very first settlers.
Uh-huh.
And your family's been here ever since.
Yes.
So that little house on Nutt Road was the building that he built.
Yes, and it was our tenant house.
Okay.
It's, the people that were the mom or dad and grandpa thought they needed help. They could live in there.
Because that was a smaller house, and your house was a bigger farmhouse, which is now torn down, and there's apartments in that area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on close to Sheehan Road in Centerville.
Right across from the Mexican restaurant.
Oh, that's right there. Okay.
Yes, so we have a restaurant, and we say, that's our restaurant.
That's where that was your property before.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we did use, when my dad passed away, Dad liked to have people take the land and make gardens.
Mm-hmm.
So all the 17 acres down on the right, now here I was telling the boys when I was talking here, they were calling it Sheehan, and I said, it is not Sheehan because my uncle was Sheehan.
Uh-huh.
So
and so it should be Shin.
Yes,
Okay.
It should be really Shin, but it'll never be that anymore.
Right, because it's on the street sign now.
Down the Nutt
But
Road.
that's what you call it.
Yes, and I'll say to the people when they talk to me, I said, "Oh, you're talking about Shin? Shin, so."
But to you, it'll always be that because you actually knew the person who lived on that road.
Right. So,
how interesting. Okay, so we talked a little bit about your father as a township trustee. Tell me some about his contributions to the community. 12 years as a trustee.
Yeah.
Drove the school bus.
Uh-huh.
And what other things was he involved in, or any stories about him in his capacity?
Honestly, he took the trustee very, very serious. And he was involved in it so much that he did not do as much farming for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He just couldn't do that because his dad was, he was getting a little older.
Slowing down a bit.
Yeah, so he was slowing down. So Dad loved it was just the beginning of fixing everybody's houses for, people were building houses. And what happens when you build a house. You have to, they didn't have any anything to go by or anything. And so that was hard to set it up.
So really kind of building the community.
Yeah.
Deciding what kind of community we want, how can we, and I'm sure there was a great influx of people, so figuring out what Centerville was going to be like.
Yeah. Now we're doing that again.
We are. We're constantly adjusting and figuring out, what's working, what's not working. And
yeah, they had a place where always had water in it, and he wanted to fix that, get that fixed so badly, and he finally did. But, just things like that were just beginning to show because people didn't think about things.
Yeah, it is kind of a new process. And
yeah, we had people coming in that, were not farmers, they were started building, and so it was different.
The beginning of the community.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a community, but a bigger community.
Oh, yeah, bigger community.
Right.
Right.
So another thing is that you were very active in the Centerville Women's Civic Club. Tell me a bit about that organization and what they do in the community.
Oh, well, we really take care of the community, we say. When I first went in, there was only maybe 35 women. And now we have 130 some, 38. And we take care of the firemen. We take care of just the schools, things are going on in school and they need some extra money, And what we do is we have like a card party, and we can do very well with that. And we have 2 things that we do every year, and except, when COVID came in, we were out of business, basically. But we didn't lose much money because we would give our money every month, like we were at the having our lunches, and which we have every month, and we go to only 2 places now. And
right, so you fundraise and then donate the money to different organizations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. And it's nice to get together with people you care about and have common interests.
Well, and right now we give so much money to the food bank or the churches that are very much involved. We see that they have some money. So.
Yeah, eating is the first thing that we, every day people just keep wanting to eat, right?
Yeah, right.
So
right.
it's a basic need that
right.
if we can take care of, we should.
Yeah. So we give our money to the public, to where we live, is what it is.
Yeah. It's great to get together and to be able to feel like you're helping in some way.
And we have a nice, every time another gal that was with me, we were almost 5 years getting programs for once a month.
Yeah, let's talk about how you became involved in Centerville-Washington history. Why? What got you involved in that?
Because, we were here long before, a lot of people were.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, gee, I can do something for, but I haven't done as much as I wanted to. But sometimes you just have to decide where you're going,
dividing your time and finding the things that you're most passionate about.
Right. And I quit teaching. I was a substitute teacher for almost 10 years.
Were you? Wow.
And so then I had an opportunity because my stepmom, she had to have a place to live. So because we knew we were not going to keep the house very much longer. My mom, I lost her in very young, and so my dad remarried, which was a lovely lady, and he died before she did, so we were looking for places for her to live, and got to St. Leonard, and I just fell in love with it, and I was there for 12 years. So
running activities. So you got to visit your stepmother and run activities that benefited her directly.
Yes, she liked that, so.
Yeah, we've been going into St. Leonard's and doing activities there, like the Centerville-Washington History. And that's been fun. It's nice to be with the residents there.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that you would have provided.
Yes,
activities.
Well, we did several times. We did.
Activities are so important to engage us and break up your day and stimulate your mind.
Sometimes, there's some people that don't want to do that, and I'd say, well, why don't you come on with us? We're having a good, I know it's going to be a wonderful thing. Oh, no, I just want to watch.
Yeah, it's, people need encouragement.
So you have to
And it's still their choice, if they don't want to participate.
Yeah, but it is I know that you all work very hard,
Sure.
to keep it going.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what should be done,
Yeah.
The younger people should be filling in.
That's right.
Filling in, backfilling.
I know.
And that's what we're doing. In the introduction, I talked about that you taught third grade for the Centerville School District in a converted classroom in the basement of Centerville United Methodist Church, which has now changed names. But so what was it like at this period of time where building was happening and lots of people are coming into Centerville,
right,
that they needed to find other spaces because they couldn't build quick enough. So what was that like?
Oh, it was nice. I thought the first year that I'm out teaching, I'm going to be in a basement, and the superintendent at that time, which was Watts, he came to see me one time at Otterbein, and I was doing my student teaching, and I thought, oh my gosh, what is he doing here, coming, and so then the second time he came, he said, I want to talk to you, and I said, oh, okay. I said, what did I do, and he says, oh, you didn't do anything. I want you to do something for me. And I said, oh, okay, what is that? He said, well, I want you to come back to school and teach third grade. So that's how
And that's your first job?
That was my first job.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, well, I was up there, but then I thought, well, gosh, nobody else is here, so I can really teach, and
no distractions.
No distraction. But then they decided to put a kindergartner on the other side of me. So that was good, because we could talk at noon, and we had a lady that lived across the street from the church, and she was our cook.
Oh, she'd provide the food for the school.
Yes.
Wow.
So and then we'd have a little time to chat,
you weren't so alone.
No, I wasn't. Mm-hmm. But I had my husband to come and help me set it up, and he said, oh, I don't know what to do, So anyway, we had a good time putting it together, and putting the books on the tables. And I thought, oh, it was going to. So after the first time we did that, we looked at it and we said, ooh, this looks like a schoolroom. We had to make it look like one and not a Sunday school room.
Right.
So.
Oh, how fun.
It was fun.
And then the new buildings happened, and so you taught only in the basement.
No, I went to Magzig.
Okay. So then was Magzig still third grade?
Yes.
Yeah. So you still had
I
all
was
of
on this side, the west side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had added the additions at that point? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So.
Well, very fun. Since you mentioned your husband, how did you meet him? I think I had mentioned it, that you had met each other doing 4-H band.
Right. He lived in Brookville at that time. Mm-hmm. We had to go every Monday night, and so to practice, and it was over closer to Brookville than Centerville. So the parents got to the point where we had to take cars, So that's what, and then, I don't know, there was 3 of us that, had little boyfriends, so.
And you dated all through college and then finally ended after you graduated, got married.
Yes, and then and I got married, and we went to Centerville Methodist, and So that's where we had our wedding.
Okay.
And that was 65 years ago.
Wow. Congratulations.
And in August, it'll be 66. So
That's amazing. That's
it's
great.
amazing.
Congratulations. It's fun. What are your favorite things about living in Centerville?
It's my town, But, I mean, I liked Arizona. We lived there and I liked it.
Uh-huh.
But this here is, I guess it's because I just know so many people.
So it's having the community.
Right.
The community is key for you.
I like it,
Yeah.
And it's getting bigger and bigger,
Right.
And I say, I hope all this is going to be okay when they get it done, But
Change is challenging sometimes, right?
yeah, and I don't know. My husband was he was transferred out there, and we lived there 6 years.
In Arizona.
And
then you came back.
and we came back, and he was transferred back, so that worked out real well. But the kids we had 2 boys, and they loved going to someplace. They didn't know about Arizona, and what it was going to be like, and so forth. And we bought a house, and it was real close to an Indian reservation, And they loved that because they were so used to helping here with the animals and with the cotton. They would see them making cotton, and they just thought that was just wonderful. They could hardly wait to come home from school, so.
Right. It is so interesting to go different places and see how things are done differently.
Yeah, and they like that,
Yeah,
so.
definitely. Well, I think Arizona's beautiful too.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, deserts. This feels like home. The trees, and I love growing things, and things are things grow so easily here, but going to the desert has a different kind of beauty, I think.
Mm-hmm. It is, but it's hot.
Yeah. Well, you want to go in February. That's the right time to go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my folks will always come at different times, and we'd say, don't come in the summer.
Right.
Well, then we would come back here every summer, and
because the weather's a lot better here in the summer.
Yeah, it is.
The humidity's not great, but
right. So
yeah. Well, anything else you want to tell about your growing up in Centerville and living here?
No, I just everybody says I was so happy when I finally got someone that was close to me. Now I had my cousin that was living in the stone house, she would, we weren't, that was a long way for us to walk on the roads, see.
Right.
So we weren't allowed. Well, the neighbor here came from Dayton, and they built this beautiful home, and Sandra and I got to be very good friends. But we couldn't go to each other's houses all the time, so we had a fence, And so she was on one side of the fence, and I was on the other side, and we played dolls and so forth, and that was fun.
Just across, or you cross the fence? Or?
No,
just through the fence.
Yes. So,
how funny!
But it was fun. Because we had somebody.
Right. And I'm sure growing up as an only child with a lot of adults in the home, that you needed to have that person to.
It did. But, it was wonderful. I mean, I can't say anything bad about, we got along. And, when I was a little kid, it was just the way we were, you know.
You were very loved, and everyone appreciated. I think it's a great blessing to have both your grandparents
Oh, yeah.
with you as well.
Yeah, it was nice. And my husband is an only child, so we are just, you know, everybody says, oh, you're so you're spoiled, you know. Well, we never thought we were spoiled. Maybe we were.
Well, it's probably dependent on who you're asking, but it doesn't sound like you were spoiled. You were just well cared for.
Yeah.
That's great.
We loved it.
Perfect.
So, I think.
Well, it's so great to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I'm grateful we were able to, you know, talk a little bit about what life was like as a farming community, and about growing up here in Centerville and Washington Township, and correcting us with now it's Sheehan Road. So now the people that are in, they know it's
you better not say that too
not
much.
around you. It's not. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you too.
Yeah. So we'll close our podcast today with a thank you to Miami Valley Communications Council for helping to produce this podcast, and of course to my guest, Janet Watkins Black. If you have an interesting story about Centerville or Washington Township, please contact Centerville-Washington History. Please also come visit our museums. We're open Tuesday through Friday, 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and check out our website at centerville-washingtonhistory.org. There'll be events posted there, and we'd love to have you participate. Till next time, bye-bye.